From our studios at historic Arnold's Park Amusement Park, it's Okoboji Broadcast with Jeff Thee. Welcome to Okoboji Broadcast, everybody. I'm Jeff Thee, and we're coming to you from our studios right here at Arnold's Park Amusement Park. My guest today is John Sandy Jr., newly appointed District Court Judge John Sandy Jr. And John, welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you. And congratulations, Governor Kim Reynolds named you a week ago.
She did. Thursday, I got a phone call. Not that I was paying attention, but at 11:48 a.m. I knew it was her because when I looked at my cell phone, the prompt had an Osceola tag with it, and I knew she was from Osceola, Clark County.
Oh.
You know, she was the Clark County recorder. Or
I wouldn't have put that together.
Or treasurer, I guess.
Yeah.
But so as soon as I saw that, I kind of knew that it might be her on the other end, and it was. So.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And we wanted to put out a disclaimer here that any opinions you give here today are
my personal opinion. So
yes.
anything I say is not to be construed as the opinion of the Iowa Judicial Branch.
Right.
I'm here in a personal capacity to kind of bring awareness to the application and appointment process, because I don't think a lot of people necessarily are aware of that.
Right. Yeah. And, you've been a lawyer here in the area, and also you do some serving up in Minnesota, do you not?
Yeah. So I've been practicing locally for over 10 years with my mother, father, and then eventually my two brothers, Christopher and Michael, came back to join the firm.
Okay.
And went to the University of St. Thomas Law School, graduated in the spring of 2010, and then sat for the Iowa bar that summer. And then Iowa kind of has a deal with Minnesota, or Minnesota with Iowa, where if you score high enough on the bar exam, you don't have to resit for another bar exam to be licensed in the state of Minnesota. And so being in the Twin Cities during law school, I had some practice experience with criminal law in the Twin Cities, and the state of Minnesota was looking for a part-time public defender to take kind of rural southwest Minnesota, but really Jackson and Fairmont areas. And so I did that on a part-time basis, in addition to supplementing my practice at Sandy Law Firm.
Well, lots of great experience, underneath there. That's amazing.
It was nice because when you do that type of work, not only do you get cross-jurisdictional experience, but those cases tend to go to trial more.
Yeah.
And so you really kind of learn your trial skills. I think the art of a jury trial is becoming less and less of a thing as the years progress. There are less and less jury trials. And so, serving in that capacity, I had a high volume of cases.
Right.
And therefore a high percentage of cases that went to a jury trial.
Yeah.
And, there's no amount of book learning or law school that'll teach you what you need to know. For jury trials, you learn by doing them, frankly.
Yeah.
So
you're thinking on your feet.
Yeah. Picking a jury.
Yes.
Oh, I won't ask that question again. That type of thing. So there's no substitute for experience on that.
Yeah. Now, is that what you've practiced primarily as criminal law then, John?
Yeah. So it's been a blend of criminal defense as well as plaintiff personal injury, or civil. We call it civil litigation, tort law.
Right.
So that could encompass in a number of different things. But for the most part, motor vehicle accidents or people who are seriously injured by the negligence of others, that would be an area that I would practice in. So a litigation practice. I didn't do much probate or estate planning. Pretty much if you were picking a jury, that was the type of law that I practiced.
Okay, all right. Now, when you say that not as many trials go to jury, is that due to COVID, or is that due to more things being settled?
Yeah, more things being settled.
Okay.
I mean, even pre-COVID, things just weren't heading to a jury trial as much. I think there are a number of factors, but yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I don't know what the statistics are.
Right.
The American Bar Association puts out statistics every so often that kind of outline that, but more often than not, whether it's criminal or even civil, you just have more cases settling, not going to a jury trial as much.
Now, when you went to law school, were you aspiring to be a judge? Was that your long-term goal for this, or were you just wanted to be working in law, and as you went through, it was like, I think I would enjoy that?
Yeah, no, certainly I didn't think about it in law school at all. I kind of likened it to, this, before I went to law school and before I finished my full college at St. Thomas, for a period of time I was studying to be a priest.
Yeah, I remember.
And the joke in seminary was always the worst bishops are the seminarians that want to be bishops, right? Like no one should want to be a bishop, right. And so it's kind of similar, I think, with the law. I mean, no, certainly in law school I did. In fact, just the opposite. I don't think that was something I really thought about or wanted to do at all. And even early in my practice, I don't think, for a number of reasons, pay a ceiling on your ability to make money. For me, at least, and this still holds true even now, one of the things that I felt like I would miss the most about being on the bench would be my client interactions. I really value my clients and the trust that they put in me for the most serious matters. I mean, think about it. When you go to see a lawyer, at least me, it tended to not be a happy thing. You were there because you were charged with a serious crime or seriously injured.
Right.
And so there's something about somebody placing that intimate trust with you that meant a lot to me, and I really valued those relationships and that dynamic. It's what kind of motivated me, and it's why I got into law to begin with.
Right.
So throughout this process, there was a real kind of come to Jesus, or searching my conscience to figure out, do I want to leave that behind? Why do I feel called to this particular line of work? And if so, why?
Yeah.
What are my motivations there? Because it certainly isn't money.
Right.
And it's not flexibility of schedule.
Right.
Being self-employed, I can kind of tell the gals at the office, hey, take this week off. I'm going to go deer hunting for the week in November.
Right.
So, but...
So what were your motivations?
I think... And I mean this, and when I interviewed with Governor Reynolds, I told her this. I think the community, and specifically the Lakes area, Dickinson County, because keep in mind, my assignment's 10 counties. So, I mean, I'll be as far south as Cherokee and Buena Vista, as far west as Lyon County, and as far east as like Kossuth County. But I mean this when I say this, that I think even, going through seminary, I think that there was a part of me that wanted to be a public servant or serve others in a way that really wasn't about, kind of how much money can I make.
Right.
And I think that in particular, as I've lived here over the years, I've come to realize how wonderful the Lakes area is in terms of cultural opportunities, educational opportunities. Yep. The churches in the area are amazing. I mean, there's just the nature center, the Okoboji Summer Theater. I mean, I just love the Lakes.
For a population year-round of 17,000 in Dickinson County, we should not have all these amenities.
Right. I mean, Liz and I lived in downtown Minneapolis for a number of years, and we've always kind of said, we're just as busy here as we were in the cities. And so I think I owe so much to the community. I really believe this, that how well situated I am is a direct result of the community effort in raising me, so to speak.
Right, and what it has given to you. Here's a chance to give back.
Yeah, I mean, you think of Roland Schmidt and Steve Sievert, to name a few.
Yeah.
The civics they provided me when I was going through high school were outstanding, and probably provided the framework for me to do what I probably would have never had much of an interest in law, but for some of that, educational curiosity they planted. My parents, obviously, but
sure.
I mean, just so much the community's given me, both St. Mary's and the school at Spirit Lake High School and middle school. And so when I interviewed with the governor, I told her, in some ways, this is my thank you, to want to help the community and serve in this role, because it really is service.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a
100% service.
Yeah, it's a service thing. So, not that I wasn't serving as a lawyer, but at the end of the day, running a small business is about making money. Otherwise, you're not going to be a small business.
That's
right?
True.
So,
very true.
I mean, at the end of the day, it is about, hey, the billables are important. And at the end of the day, as an attorney, you answer to your client. So there's not a lot of autonomy there.
Right.
I mean, obviously, I couldn't do something I felt was unethical, but I mean, the client's directives became mine because I worked for the client.
Sure.
So I think that this is something that was attractive to me. That change, that transition is something that's attractive to me.
Well, let's talk about the process, because this is the second time you've kind of gone up the flagpole, haven't you, John?
Yep.
So how does it work? How do you get your name in the field and go from there?
Yeah. So there's a commission made up of 10 individuals. Half of those individuals are lay folks like you, people in the community, non-lawyers, okay?
Okay.
And those 5 folks are appointed by the governor. Now, I don't know what their terms are. I don't know if they're 3 or 4 years. I kind of forget exactly what that is, but they serve their term and they're appointed. Typically, I think it's just one term, although I could be wrong. Maybe the governor has the ability to reappoint. I don't know.
Yeah.
But typically, they change up. Right? I mean, typically, the same person is not picked twice.
Right.
That's been my experience. And then there's 5 individuals who are selected by the bar. So the local attorneys in 3A, that's the 10-county district that I kind of talked about earlier.
Right.
The attorneys have the ability to vote for candidates who put their name to be in the running to be on the commission.
Okay.
So that's where those 5 attorneys are selected from.
Okay.
And so there's 5 lay folks, 5 attorneys, and then they make the decision out of all the applicants to pick 2 to send to the governor.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's got to be a little hair-raising to, okay, I'm one of 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Well, as you said, the first time I applied, I was one of 2, but didn't get selected when I went up to the governor. And, people congratulate you as being, oh, congratulations, you're a finalist. And, maybe I'm too much of a pessimist, but like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking I have a 50% chance of losing.
Yeah.
That's not a lot to celebrate, right? Those aren't great odds.
Right.
And yeah, it's one of those things where you kind of feel honored that, hey, at least I made the top 2, but you're not across the finish line yet.
Yeah.
And
it had been a good experience for the second time around that you a little more entrenched in it. You've done it before, and then maybe a little, I don't know if it was a calmer sensation the second time around.
It was a little odd because the first time around, my interview with Governor Reynolds was scheduled because you interview down at the Capitol.
Right.
At her, with her and her staff. It's the Lieutenant Governor, Adam Gregg, and then her legal counsel. And I believe her chief of staff also participates in the interview. And the first time, my interview was literally the morning after derecho kind of ripped through Iowa.
Oh, wow.
And so, being from Okoboji, it's a good 3.5 hour drive, to Des Moines. So I went down the night before, and as you're sitting in your hotel room, you get a phone call at 8:30 at night from our office that says, we got to reschedule for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So they rescheduled it to the next week, and then next week came around, and President Trump was in town in Cedar Rapids visiting because of derecho.
Right.
So it got rescheduled again.
Oh my goodness.
And the third time it got rescheduled, it was over Zoom. So it was a little different because being in the Capitol and kind of being in her office and interviewing in person is a little bit of a different thing than looking at a computer screen.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the governor's office meeting with then Governor Branstad and Lieutenant Governor Reynolds. It's a real home field advantage.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah. And so you know what I mean. I mean, just kind of the whole grandeur of it, and it's a pretty ornate office in terms of the murals on the wall and everything. And it was a cool experience, but one I didn't get the first time because of circumstances. So, it was a little bit calming knowing that, hey, I've already interviewed with her once. But at the same time, not in the same way.
Yeah.
So, that was a little nerve-wracking. I'll be honest, the past 3 months has been a long process.
Sure
it's been very, very stressful.
Yes. So what now? When do you... I can't say take office, can I? Or how do you...
Take the bench.
Take the bench.
Yeah.
When do you take the bench, John?
Yeah, so usually there's an investiture ceremony where you're, quote, sworn in, that type of thing. Because of COVID and some of the precautions with the court, I think that's going to be delayed prior to my start date, to have that type of ceremony because people gather and that type of thing.
Sure.
But typically they give you 30 days from the date of your appointment to wrap up your affairs before taking the bench.
Sure.
You can go beyond the 30 days, but there's all sorts of requests that need to be made, statutorily mandated procedures to follow to get more than 30 days that I'm not more than likely going to do. So I anticipate the start date being about at that 30-day mark. I would imagine April 26th or so.
Okay.
So that's when I would start.
Okay. And what will this all include for those who have no idea what a judicial judge...
Yeah.
You hear cases, but, with all these 10 counties, you said...
yeah.
So what will you be hearing? What type of cases?
So, good question, because there's different types of judges. So there's like magistrate judges who oftentimes do simple misdemeanor cases. Sometimes they may do small claims court, and typically they do initial appearances with defendants. There's also district associate judges. So like Dave Larson, for example, in the community would be one. Judge Gales from Algona is another individual who's a district associate judge, as is Judge Smith, who's a Spirit Lake alum. Okay. And he's in, I think, Storm Lake. But they handle DHS cases, so like child in need of assistance proceedings. Right. They'll handle indictable but non-felony criminal matters for the most part. Okay. Again, small claims court, they could handle some of that. So that's more what they do. As a district judge, I'll handle felony criminal cases. I'll handle, and that includes trials, pleas, sentencings. I'll handle custody and divorce matters. Okay. I would also hear personal injury or civil litigation that might come before me. And then in addition, probate, estate matters, I'll help facilitate some of those. If there's administrative matters that come before me, I'd hear those appeals, and some of those sometimes government agency type stuff might be something I have to deal with occasionally.
Okay, and with 10 counties, who schedules you as to?
Yeah, good question.
When you're in Kossuth County, when you're in Dickinson, when you're in Pocahontas or wherever.
Right. Yeah. So court administration for our district's based in Sioux City. And so, for example, in civil cases, whether it's a divorce, custody, or civil, personal injury case, whatever that might look like, a judge is assigned. And so court administration in Sioux City does the assignment. And so there's a list of 5 judges in District 3A, and you just kind of go down the list. Next up is John, next up is Judge Peterson, for example. Next up is Judge Mayer, and so they just rotate through that list. But then for your motion days or your criminal docket, the judges, I wouldn't say quarterly because it's not exactly 4 times a year, but they do a rotation, say, of 2 or 3 counties, 2 counties, it depends on what the rotation looks like, where that's the judge that's presiding for motion days for that period of time. Right. Okay. And so you switch. So, ride the circuit. Yeah. Right. I mean, but, so in November, December, I may be in Buena Vista and Kossuth. In January, February, I may be in O'Brien and Osceola counties, something like that.
Yeah. Do you have an anticipation of someday down the line where it's a big trial and it's different being an attorney and defending or prosecuting someone, and even if it's jury, the judgment comes down to part of you. Do you have an anticipation of, wow, this is big stuff? To be in a seat like this.
Yeah, no, it is. It's an incredible honor, and something that should be taken with great sobriety and compassion, in my opinion, because you need to do what the law requires, and sometimes it's easy to know what the law requires. Sometimes not, but nonetheless, rendering judgments that are going to significantly affect people's lives, even if it's the right decision in my mind based on the law and fact, is nonetheless not an easy thing to do, and it takes, I think, a lot of humility, I'm kind of still in awe of that.
Yeah.
That
and I can't even imagine, because there's times where, as a supervisor, county supervisor, you feel for someone because something's happening, but the law says something else, and you feel torn, but you got to go with the law.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's about. It's about doing the law and applying the facts to the law, and not that judges don't make mistakes. That's why there's Court of Appeals.
Sure.
I can't remember who told me this. It might have been Judge Carr one time, I think, referenced the fact that it's not always who's right or wrong, it's who's last. That there's a point to that too, that sometimes the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals has the last word on that, and that doesn't mean you necessarily got it wrong, but they were last.
But there was another process after you.
Right, yeah.
And it's what it comes down to. So.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Anything else you want to pass along just as you move forward?
No, I think that's it, and I appreciate, as I told you before the interview started, I just think it's important that the general public kind of that there's not this veil of secrecy, right?
Yeah, right.
That they understand what the process looks like. It's a constitutional process, so it's in the Iowa Constitution. I think it's important.
Very good. Judge Sandy, thank you for being here with me.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Our guest has been Judge John Sandy Jr. here with us today. We thank him for taking time with us. We thank you for watching us right here on Okoboji Broadcast. Okoboji Broadcast from the studios at historic Arnold's Park Amusement Park is brought to you by the Scott Troutman State Farm Agency in Spirit Lake, Pure Fishing in Spirit Lake, Last Touch Painting and Cleaning, providing interior, exterior, house painting, and professional cleaning services in Spirit Lake. Quest Wealth Management, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Advisor Jan Spielman, AJ Spielman, and Erica Wachholz. Ducky's Marine and Motorsports Repair in Spirit Lake. Bank Midwest, dream big, plan wisely, live well. Lakes Regional Healthcare and Avera Partner. Attorney Bethany Brands at Brands Law Office in Spirit Lake. Ruthven Locker at the lake, where carnivores are welcome on Hill Avenue in Spirit Lake. Beck Engineering in Spirit Lake. Be Radiant Laser Skin Studio in the Okoboji Plaza in Okoboji. The YMCA of the Okobojis is the Bedell Family YMCA, building strong families and strong communities.